In this video, you're going to be treated to an in-depth conversation that I had with my good friend, Lauren Jubelirer, about the summer solstice and about what it means for us. So this is not an in-depth astrological or human design exploration. It's more about talking about how is this actually influencing us, and what are the qualities of the planets that are influencing us, and how can we use those to our own benefit? What is it that we're really being called to, and how can we show up for that call? And so there's a lot of really, really good stuff happening for us. It's intense. There's a lot going on at the same time. But it is something that is really, really for our benefit, especially when we know how to work with it, which is what Lauren and I talk about in this particular video. And make sure you stay on till the end, because Lauren and I do a meditation to help you go into the heart space and to work with the Divine Mother to be able to reconnect with your original spark and your original mission. All right, okay, let's go ahead and dive in. Welcome, everyone. I am so delighted to be here today. We are coming right up on the summer solstice, and I asked my good friend, Lauren Jubelirer, if she would come and have another conversation, bringing in an astrological and shamanic point of view as we are looking at this incredibly auspicious and intense alignment that is coming up today. If you're in the United States, it's basically this night, and it's the longest night. And so we wanted to have a conversation that would help us to go beyond some of the technicalities that are happening as we can see them through the human design system or through astrology, using those as foundations for our conversation, but to really go deeper into what is this all about for us? How do we take what we're learning from what the planets are telling us, and from what they're guiding us into, what they're representing, and what does that really mean in our own lives? What does it mean in our own bodies? What does it mean in our relationships with ourselves, our relationships with each other, whatever that is? And so it's just, because otherwise we just stay at the level of information, right? And if you've been with me for a while, you know me, I'm like all about getting beyond information. As juicy as the mind candy might be, it's not transformational until you bring it into your own life. So we are gonna talk about some of the specifics for sure that are happening, but this is our gift to you to help you be able to work with some of the possibilities that are being presented, and to offer some suggestions about how you can contribute to raising the frequency on our planet simply by being more in alignment inside of yourself here in the world right now. So that is an introduction. I want to welcome Lauren. Hi, Lauren. I'm so glad you're here.
Hi, that was beautiful.
Yeah. So I'm really delighted that we're going to have this conversation. I love the one that we had right after the equinox. Maybe we'll do these quarterlies or something. And I would love, Lauren, for you just to share, we were talking earlier before we got started about just how complex the astrology chart is right now. So we're not going to go into all the complexities of that. Go talk to Pam Gregory if you want to get all of that. But we're gonna look at it in a little bit of a different way and try to give you some essence. So, Lauren, where would you like to get us started here in terms of us diving into what this solstice energy is about and what it's offering to us?
Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about some information and
Yes, of course.
say that just what we're talking about is that the sun just moved into 0 degrees Cancer, and it's traveling and journeying with Jupiter that also early in the month moved into Cancer, and they're forming a geometric pattern, a 90-degree angle to Saturn and Neptune. And the signature of this, which you spoke so beautifully about, Maggie, in a previous YouTube that you made, is it's really about the wisdom of embodying, radiating the wisdom of the heart. And Cancer is that energy of emotional intelligence and tenderness and love that radiates, that is the care and love for all people, and the care and love for all the parts of ourselves that need care and that are vulnerable. And this energy is really expanded right now. And so there's a lot, we were talking earlier, there was a lot of platitudes about unconditional love and timeline jumping and moving into the 10th dimension. You know, there's a lot out there about the expansiveness and the transformation that's available to us now. But what does it look like in our actual daily lives? And how do we step into that beyond understanding? It really helps to understand that there are many cycles that are happening right now that are all pointing to the same thing, which is that we are entering an entirely new time. And in order to enter that time, we are needing to let go of all the ways that we internalized how the time that we were raised in informed us, or for thousands of years, the culture, how it got created, how we appropriated that and how we express that. And the amazing opportunity with this solstice chart, which is active, it's the birthday for the next 3 months, so it's really active, is that Neptune and Saturn have come together, and this is in Aries, and it's a signature of beginning something new. It's the first sign in the zodiac. And Neptune is this boundless love and compassion. Neptune is the spirit world. Neptune is spirit. And Saturn is our world. It's how do we birth something into the world? And so there's this very interesting dynamic between this incredibly expansive Jupiterian love, expansion, hope, optimism, and Neptune's dreams and visions and anchoring new realities. And then Saturn is like, Saturn brings spirit into matter. Saturn is associated with being pregnant, with the mother, with the feminine creator. Who is it that brings spirit into matter? The mother energy does. And so there's the seed point. And Saturn is just asking us to take it down into our daily lives. So what does unconditional love look like when you are having a big disagreement with someone that you care about or someone that you're just getting to know? There can be this expectation when we look at the astrology that we think I should be able to have a conversation where I'm a good listener, or I'm expressing empathy or kindness or compassion. And then we run into the fact that we aren't necessarily always able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And Saturn will show you where the limitations are, where there are areas that need to grow. And so that's where Saturn's in this dynamic square with this optimism and these waves of love. It's like, well, maybe you need to practice. And we were talking about when my son was learning how to ride a bicycle, and I took the training wheels off, I didn't yell at him every time he fell. I just kept helping him get up and try harder, try just next time, and cheering him on. And we aren't always like that with ourselves when we have these expectations of how we're going to be bringing in these signatures of love into our world, into our relationships, into our communication, and practicing self-love, self-compassion by letting ourselves make mistakes, by letting ourselves see where we're not yet there, and that the solstice is a huge initiation of very high voltage frequencies that you can feel.
Mm-hmm.
But then Saturn is about how do we take that and bring that into the world in small, sweet steps. And we know that we're here to bring about a great change, and that we are part of the transition team. And we know that we have a lot of help from our spirit friends, our spirit guides and teachers. And the signature that we're in is a signature of even more connection with our spirit guides, even more connection with the galactics, even more connection with, the arcane, all of that, bringing it down to earth and into our lives. But we end up with these really big expectations, and we forget it's really about, in this next moment, what's a small, sweet step that I can take that would demonstrate this? And are there I seem to be wanting to be like channeling the energy of Saturn in all of this for right now. But it's about taking things down into the practical.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. I mean, this is one of the things I talk about a lot too, Lauren, is practice. Like my thing is the missing ingredient for many people on a spiritual path is practice. And practice that actually works, because sometimes people think, whatever, sitting for 5 minutes is going to transform them. I mean, it can happen, but real practice takes, focus, intention, time. It does. And I absolutely agree with you that we're being called to really take a look at this. And so from a human design point of view, Neptune and Saturn are in the gate 25, which is in the heart center. It's in the G center, and it's the love of spirit. And so it's absolutely, from a human design point of view, saying, are you doing your spiritual practice? How are you cultivating on a daily basis, Saturn, right? How are you cultivating on a daily basis your relationship to spirit? And then Neptune, of course, is giving us opportunities as a part of our spiritual theme as to what is it that is our spiritual practice to do, or what are we working on in our own spiritual practice. And the other thing that I just want to throw in here is that this is so much about the self. Like you mentioned, self-love and self-compassion, right? And the G center is the heart, but it's also the identity center. It's the center for love and lovability, identity, and our direction in life. And we've got 6 planets lighting up the G center on this solstice. 6. Okay, that's a lot. And in different places, but they're activating the gate of self-love, the gate of compassion, the gate of love of spirit, the gate of allowing. It's just really calling us to be like, come here, come out of here, come down here, right? Tune in. And I love what you're saying about, it's like, and it is this funny dynamic, right, between Neptune and Saturn, right? Because they're kind of almost like opposite energies, right? But that's also where we get this dynamism between things that are going, well, what about this way? And in human design, I like to call that creative tension, because there's creative tension in every chart, right? And those are our opportunities to grow. And I think it's so perfect, because we're really in this cauldron of being called to dissolve the old, create the new, all at the same time. So if you've been kind of going like this, I'm not surprised, because it's kind of like that.
I think they work well together. I think of Saturn as the root system that's going to root. Without the root system, and I think of the tree, the leaves on the trees, they're like opening to the cosmos. They're bringing this cosmic light. They're bringing it down into the body, and then rooting it into the earth and rooting it into our lives. And without that root system, it's just out there. And so I happen to find Saturn very lovable, because Saturn really helps us to, especially with Neptune, because Neptune is spirit and Saturn is form. And Saturn is helping us bring more and more spirit into form and into our lives and into the world. And without that, so I would like to give a few examples of some of the things that I'm seeing with some of my clients around this. So first of all, the Cancer expanded waves of love are definitely coming in with the solstice. And if we take the time to quiet ourselves and go within and really feel our hearts, a lot of amazing things have been happening. So I teach shamanic journeying class, and what I love to do is to have people understand a little bit about the astrology cycle, and then to journey with the planets as spiritual guides and teachers, and invite them in for medicine work to be healers and guides. And so we did this week, And we invited the solstice sun, and we invited Saturn, and we invited Neptune and Jupiter, and we journeyed into our heart spaces. And you don't need to do a shamanic journey. And this is done with music and not herbs and medicines. Everyone has, we all have the capacity to enter altered states of consciousness. Our body is built for this. We don't have to take medicine, although taking medicine is also awesome. But that's not what I'm doing. But we can journey into our hearts, and there is this medicine for the heart that's available. And so an example might be this, when we're really taking it down into reality. One of my clients had an experience in her childhood of pretty serious abuse, and had spent, most of her life, like most of us, on various spiritual paths, therapy, coaching, like everything. And she had gotten to a place in her life of quite a bit of self-love and quite a bit of mastery. She herself is a pretty profound spiritual healer and teacher. And she, you know how during abuse or neglect, the child oftentimes will internalize, like, what's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? And it's my fault. And you can know that it's not your fault on a mental level. You can change your beliefs about that. You can even change your life so you're attracting different things. But on some level, what wasn't in her is that she was seeing through her journey that she had gotten to a certain place of understanding this, but there was a deeper place she could go. And what happened? And she felt it was Neptune, and it was like this dolphin-y, Neptune is very much associated with the oceans, like this dolphin-y wave of love came in, and she had this awakening experience of, I've always been totally innocent. A beautiful little flower of a child, a beautiful person, a beautiful spark of light. And the awareness that filled her body with a flood of self-love and self-care that cannot be expressed in words. And I mention this because this is the potential of what this can do for you. And I would say, think of it as heart medicine. That is designed to take you into the place in your heart where you are still holding something back around love, whether it's love of self, love of other, or some deep, Cancer has to do with family, roots, lineage, ancestors, tribe. And of course, we're seeing these ancient tribal wars that are thousands of years in the making, these patterns being played out. And in fact, they're being played out in our culture, but also within our own hearts. But this is a signature of, there's so much support from your guide teams, and there's so much support from these planetary initiators to really dissolve something so that you are no longer at the effect of it. And so you are on a totally different playing field energetically. And so you can do this through meditation of just going into your heart and being willing to see what wants to be seen that hasn't been seen or felt. And there's this, and inviting in Neptune and the solstice sun. You don't even have to know, like, the solstice sun and everything associated with it, because Neptune and Saturn and Jupiter are there. And it's like washing a pot with like stuff at the bottom. But instead of using Brillo, it's like this luminescent love light that but we have to be willing to feel it and to see it. But there's a tenderness there. There's a real tenderness there.
Yeah.
And we really are at a place that enormous shifts can happen because the energy available to us is so strong. I know that you're all feeling it, and it can be overwhelming. If I went into all the details about the solstice chart, it's one rare, amazing activation after another, all happening at once. And we were talking about this rare sacred geometry, these two hands of God that are very rare. We have two happening on the solstice, and they are about fate, and they are about energy that is activating us to transform. We've got Mars in the heart of the lion connected to a sacred star that's connected to Archangel Raphael, the angel of healing. So the planet of Mars is radiating the sacred masculine, this archangel of healing energy that is really supporting us in transitioning from self-judgment, self-criticism, perfectionism into people who are stepping into a time of healing, profound healing. And that means we're going to make mistakes. We're going to act from a place of unkindness sometimes, but that we need to, just like the child that's trying to learn the bicycle, pick ourselves up and keep going and keep being willing to learn and grow and keep trying new things. And the courage, because the heart of the line is courage, the courage to step into the new energy that we are all embodying and seeding. And every solstice and equinox, it's like a deeper turn of the wheel into this new river, into this new current that is new for us. It's new for the planet. And how do we co-create with this? It's pulling up a lot of what we have to be willing to pull out, release.
Yeah.
Step into the new, trust. Even though we don't know how we're going to do something, even though we don't know when exactly it's going to happen. Neptune is about really trusting your intuition, your inner voice of wisdom, the heart, and the heart speaks to you. So what do you have to say?
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. Well, I did want to share one piece. You were saying that, this is, you're sharing the story about your client who had this deeper healing, right? And I feel like I've been having really deeper healings for a while, like actually quite a while, over a year. And that part of that was Chiron was on top of my south node. So that had something to do with it. But yeah, these, and that is part of it, right? Because that's healing the lifetimes. And just to say for all of us, because sometimes I know I've had this experience and some of you might have this, is you might be going, the intensity is greater than it feels like maybe appropriate for your particular life. It's possible, right? Because we are having the opportunity to heal our ancestral line also and our soul's journey. So there's a lot of different things that are coming together right here at this time. And I know even just this morning, after I had done a Kundalini yoga practice, so I was all warmed up, and I sat down to meditate, and I just had this deep awareness come out of my heart. And I just started sobbing and I was saying, I forgive myself. I forgive myself. I forgive myself. Right. And this was not something I thought about. It wasn't something that I was planning on doing. It just literally came out of my heart. It came out of the core of my being, because I have also been saying that to my higher self, right? Like, just lead me on this path of transformation. I give you full permission to lead me on this path. And so this came out, and just to share that this part of what I'm forgiving myself for and what I've been healing is my own experience as a perpetrator, as someone who is a soldier in many lives. And it may be, I mean, my sense is that, of course, I was doing what I thought was right at the time, right? But I was still perpetrated violence, right? And that we all have been perpetrators, and that part of what we're evolving out of is this perpetrator victim rescuer paradigm, where we have these three figures that we've been spiraling around. And I do think that there have been times as a rescuer, I in other lives did commit violence in the effort to protect, right? And I think that this is, as we're needing to evolve out of a culture based on violence, right? And a culture based on coercion and hierarchy, which is what the Age of Empire has been about. And we've been in this for over 5,000 years, right? That as we do that, part of our healing, right, makes me want to cry just to say it, is that we have to also acknowledge all the ways we've been part of it, right? Because it's so easy now to, like, other people and say, oh, they're being the authoritarian, they're being the dictator, they're being the whatever, right? That's not me, it's them. But we've all been all of it if we step back and take a look at the ancestral and soul's journey. And so for me, this upwelling that was coming out was about forgiving myself for the ways I participated in all of these different activities for however long. I don't think I'm done with that, but it was really it was kind of astonishing, actually, honestly. I was like, "Wow, what is that?" You know, I was like, "Wow."
That's
And
these
my
big,
whole body was vibrating and everything, and I just and you know what? It took less than 10 minutes,
yeah,
you know? But then when I was done, I was like, "Wow, that was right?" So I just want to offer that because it doesn't have to be super painful. It doesn't have to take a really long time because I didn't fight it, you know. I invited it in, I gave it over to my higher self, and I allowed myself to receive whatever the experience was that I was ready for. And that's
yeah,
what happened.
yes,
So just to offer that, and I know Lauren, you shared with me some stories of yourself and others who have been having this, and I think it's helpful to kind of see what does this really mean in somebody's life,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Well, we are all having these getting triggered and then going in and finding there's this energy that's helping us move to a whole nother level of self-compassion, self-love, self-forgiveness, and forgiveness of others, and letting this energy just move. So I will, another one of my students that came in was saying, I told her what we were going to be working on that night, the journeys, and she said, well, that she's a healer and she has a friend who's a healer in Israel who's living in a bomb shelter right now with bombs all around. And she said that she's in her bomb shelter with friends who are also healers. And what are they doing? They're doing this work. They're going into their hearts and they're finding their inner perpetrator. And they are offering compassion and kindness and forgiveness and understanding, and then offering that out to the world of all the perpetrators that are causing that don't really know what's underneath, and to the spark of innocence, the inner child within the perpetrator before that all came on, before, and that was, and self-love, self-kindness, and offering it and radiating out. And they are doing that with bombs going on. And that is remarkable in terms of where we've come to, that we've been doing so much spiritual training in our lives that when needed, we can work. And they know the astrology. They know that with this solstice energy, there's this big love flow coming in. They know that there's dissolving. They know that there's, all of us have stuff coming up that is a result of having been raised in a culture that is not built for thriving for all people. And we enact that. And then how do we dissolve it? But instead of with self-judgment, with true forgiveness. And again, as you said, it doesn't come from the mind. We're not doing this alone. We have support. We are the ground team. And before we were born, we saw what was going on planet Earth. And that was an amazing time to be here, to be the transition team from one age of consciousness into another. And we were all excited. And we raised our hands with such a spark of excitement and enthusiasm. We knew exactly what we were doing and getting into, but of course in the realm of spirit. And this is where we get Neptune is like, all this love is, I'll go down there and I'll do all this transformation and it'll be so exciting. I'm there during the turning of the ages, during the unraveling and the regeneration, building regenerative culture and blah, 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 blah. And we had beloveds in our soul group that said, I'm going to stay here and support you. You will not be alone. None of us are alone. And the astrological cycles we're in are more strongly dissolving the veils in order for us to really have not just hear inner voices or hear guidance, but to feel the love and the support of our beloveds who have never left us. We never got sent here alone. We've always had a support team, and we have, to the level of archangel and ascended masters who are personally involved with all of us because we are connected to them, and also seeing authentically who we really are and shedding some of all of the family and cultural projections, shedding that to experience the spark of enthusiasm and intention. Neptune and Saturn conjunct in Aries is about a reactivation of that original spark, and also understanding that we really are starting something new now.
Mm-hmm.
We really are done with certain parts of our lives, and we're stepping into something new that is so new we don't yet really know how to do it, because the operating system, or the foundation stones, the energy holding things in place, is coming in, is where we are singing a new song, we're telling it's the story of connection and love and empathy and deep listening to one another. That's the song we're singing, but we don't really know how to fully sing it. Even though we're training, a lot of us are learning, we still, when push comes to shove, we get triggered, it's not where we're going to go first. And so it's again, it's bringing that kindness to ourselves and to other people when they do that with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm recognizing we're in this play together and we're learning together. And that there is so much more that we have holding us up.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. One thing that occurred to me as you were sharing was about Neptune and Aries. I think that just going back to what we were just talking about perpetrator, and we've all been all of it and all that, right? Because Aries, Mars along with Saturn were co-opted by the Romans, right? And so Mars was made into the god of war, right? And and Saturn became, and it's just like Saturnalia, right? And so they really were co-opted and distorted to become agents of the age of empire. And a lot of us have been carrying that in ourselves for a long time, but those are not the core or essence of those energies. And I'll just say with Mars, because I'm an Aries sun, and so Mars is my ruling planet, and having Neptune in Aries, I think that Neptune is really helping us with, in particular, dissolving this perpetrator, this particular paradigm, right? Because Aries potentially does have that warrior like energy, right? It's very powerful. It's very, let's go. We've got agency behind it. We're going to make shit happen, right? Aries is like that. And then if you say, oh yeah, but you do it, let me put a spear in your hand and a shield in the other, and let's, let that kind of let's go. Right. And so, and so there's Neptune saying, let's just dissolve that projection onto Aries and that projection onto Mars. And what you were saying earlier about where Mars is, right? And Mars is really being activated right now too, because I think Mars is being liberated from that distortion that that happened with the Romans. And I love what you're saying with Saturn. And could you just share a little bit more about what you were saying about Saturn? Because I thought it was so fascinating. You mentioned it just earlier in the beginning, but the piece about Saturn being really feminine and bringing things into form, that's a feminine energy. Because I know every astrologer I've ever talked to before has said that Saturn's associated with the father. Right. And so I'm just really curious because that I find that really potentially liberating, right? For us to
right.
think about Saturn, because Saturn is a very important role in our lives. And so if we have a different way of thinking of Saturn, I'll just say this one thing, like Saturn is square my sun. And so when I learned that as a young person, I learned early on, I got to make friends with Saturn. I got to figure out how to do this. I don't really know how to do that, and I feel like that's been a huge life lesson for me is how do I work with Saturn and have Saturn be an ally for me? So Saturn's been a presence for me and helped me develop a lot of personal discipline. But I'm fascinated with this idea of thinking of Saturn as more of a feminine energy.
I think of Saturn as having a masculine and a feminine side,
Mm-hmm.
and that we just haven't really looked at the feminine aspect of Saturn. As you're saying that, I'm like, do we need to project gender onto
Well, there's
Saturn?
that. Well,
We have, and I think of, but we haven't looked at that Saturn brings spirit into matter,
right.
right? Matter, mother. Saturn and Saturn cycles, in the way I look at Saturn cycles, I always, it's complex, and I'm not going to get into that, but I always give it 9 months, because a Saturn cycle is associated with being pregnant with a new possibility. And it takes months to birth. Saturn is the birthing. It is birthing reality. It is birthing something new. And the first thing that we need to do when we birth something new is we need to look at what's working and what's not working. And so Saturn gets a bad rap because Saturn will usually show us a clear, objective feedback about what's working, what's not working, where we need to level up, where we need to get new skills, and then where we need to put the energy in. But like pregnancy, it can be uncomfortable at times. But eventually there's this birth of this entire, so in terms of feminine, what is more feminine than being pregnant and giving birth? What is more feminine than what else gets a spirit? And then spirit becomes matter, is very, I do think of Saturn as feminine, but I don't want to say that all the people who think of Saturn as masculine are wrong, because that's been projected onto Saturn for thousands of years. And there's a dual nature to Saturn. One side of Saturn is very critical, and I would call it like our inner curmudgeon. Like always, like if you gave a talk and 99 people loved it and one person fell asleep, Saturn would be like, that one person fell asleep. That one side of Saturn. The other side of Saturn is, I'm sorry, this should be turned off. The other side of Saturn is Merlin, or the magician, the one who can create, and the one who can master manifester, master planner, someone who's a builder of communities and a builder of realities, and can teach us to masterfully manifest. And I think of that, so there's the pregnant aspect of it, there's the master manifester, there's the mother, there's Merlin. I think that there's many aspects to Saturn, but you're right, the Romans looked at one aspect and made that the one thing. And I think also Aries, when I think of Aries, I think of an innocent bud on a tree that is so excited to open and express her fragrance into the world, and a blade of grass that is enthusiastically like, I'm here. There's this enthusiasm of the springtime and everything coming alive, and a lot of movement and dynamic action. And what's interesting with Neptune, not only dissolving some of the projections onto Aries, but Neptune, they're journeying together, and Neptune is love and compassion and spiritual reality and grace and love, being, the felt sense that love is real. And it's Aries and Saturn are having Aries and Neptune are having this merging process. So what is Aries? Then Aries likes to have a mission and a purpose, and you can count on an Aries. When Aries knows what the mission and the purpose is, she will do it. And if it is tending the sick, it is tending the sick. It's not necessarily going to war. If it's building gardens, it's building gardens. But with Neptune is informing Aries about bringing empathy, deep listening, kindness, love into to be like that blade of grass. It's enthusiastically learning how to do that. Yeah. And so that's, a really big, important. And I also just think Aries got kind of, these many of the archetypes were changed from their original form. And a lot of the archetypes that are described are really their shadow. So the shadow of Aries is the warrior that has no empathy. Okay, every archetype has a shadow. The healthy Aries is someone who is so on point and purpose, aligned to the divine mission, whatever it is. The thing is that Aries likes to have clarity, and Neptune likes to dissolve clarity. So Aries is like, come on, I want to go. So Aries, we're getting these new visions and dreams and impulses, but we're not quite there. We're still in dream time with it. And we're not quite rooting it. That rooting will take place more in 2026. It isn't, so now it's about the vision boards and the dreams and planning, and things are a little bit slowed down, but we are literally dreaming a new dream into reality, and that takes some time. Aries doesn't like it when things take time. Aries likes it to happen really fast. Like one day that bud is there, and the next day there's like 100 buds, and that other bud is opening. So Aries can manifest very quickly. And so with Saturn conjunct Neptune and Aries, we will be birthing new forms quickly. And I want to say something else, which is that the outer planets over the next several years are, first of all, the outer planets have all changed signs within the past since November, which doesn't happen in a year. Like this is like very rare. Some of these outer planets, they're in a sign for 20 years, 14 years, 7 years, and they're all shifting. And we are all recalibrating because as above, so below, as within, so without. So this is happening inside of us, huge changes that our minds can't quite catch up with yet. And they're also conversing with each other. So there's like Neptune and Saturn are in a fire sign, Aries. Pluto and Uranus, which is moving into a new sign in July, the last one to move, air. Think about what happens when fire and air get together. Now we think about wildfires and we think about the destructive forces of fire, but when we think about manifestation, whenever I have a client and they have a lot of fire and air, and if they have any earth at all, I know this person's going to be a master manifester because air is new ideas, inspiration, ability to communicate, and fire is the spark. And knowing what we know without knowing how we know it, really connected to the divine intuitive flashes of insight. And you put that, there's a lot of movement. So in the next couple of years, there's going to be a lot of movement in all directions, in the directions that we want to go, like with our own growth and healing and development, or projects, regenerative projects that have had taking time to come off the ground. 26, 27, 28. It's just going to be a lot of initiatory energy that's supportive for change. But there'll also be things that are happening that we don't like that are being right? Quick changes. Right. And in fact, already are. So
yeah, and I think the elemental change from water and earth to air and fire all happening in such a short, think about it. That is such a huge shift energetically, you know. I'm hoping, I don't know if this is going to happen until until Neptune doesn't go back into Pisces again, but I'm hoping we're going to have a reduction of flooding. We've had so much flooding, but here we are. There's volcanoes going off all around the Ring of Fire. All the way around the entire Ring of Fire, plus other places. There's volcanoes going on.
The energy, because the Earth herself is in these initiatory cycles, and the energy shifting and moving, and inside of our hearts, there are fault lines, right? The energy is taking us there, and we're moving the pressure, so energy can move, and the same is happening on our planet with all of this. And it is a reflection of the amount of massive changes, and also be gentle with yourself. It is so important to drink a lot of water right now. And rest and slow down and bring your attention inward, especially over the next few weeks. And
you think about volcanoes is fire and earth, right? And sometimes it comes through water, like we get in Yellowstone or somewhere like that, but generally not. Usually it's fire. It's fire melting earth. And if you think about us moving from earth and water signs right into fire, it's like the fire that we're moving into is melting the earth. And of course, Uranus is still in Taurus, right? So we've still got that earth happening, but it's like right at that 29th degree.
The last degree of Taurus at the equinox, just getting ready. And Venus is in Taurus, and Venus is moving. So when Uranus moves into Gemini on the 7th of July, Venus is there with Uranus, like she's walking Uranus into the next passage, over the next threshold, which is very priestessy. The priestess walks us into the next threshold, so we're beginning this whole new process. And I think it's very interesting that cryptocurrency got a law this week, and that has been really wanting to happen. I'm not sharing any opinions that I have one way or another about it, but I'm saying that Uranus and Taurus, there was a lot of predictions that it would fundamentally change what we value, how we value it, and money, and that it would empower. And here we are at the very last degree, and it's gone all the way to changing laws so that it becomes more integrated somehow.
Mm.
And after all these years of trying to have that happen, and there's Uranus is the great awakener, and when Uranus shifts into a new sign, and even where Uranus is right now at the last degree, it's strong. So Uranus has to do with our meridians, our nervous system, and that there's a lot of, just like the volcanoes are going off and the earthquakes are happening, these are really happening inside of us, but we can use it for our evolution forward, especially when we understand that when we work with the planets and we create sort of a direct experience with them, to experiencing them directly, not just in our head, but to bring them in and have them become initiators and guides and coming into our life to work with us as supporting evolution, which is what they're, and to understand what it is, and then to flow with it is very, there's even more, I don't want to confuse people, but there's even more amazing and magical and rare things happening with the solstice, but it's all about that we are dissolving and changing a huge amount. And we're also, with Pluto being very prominent, we're also experiencing deep dives that rattle our cages, that bring up our deeper fears, that bring up places that we have not been conscious of, to be coming in to this flow of love, to be dissolved and felt. And it's not just us, it's the Divine Mother in Cancer, Solstice Sun, Big Mama, feeling like their hands bigger than ours, holding us and allowing that support to come in.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And, yeah, I love that. And oh gosh, I just lost my thought. I was so captivated by what you were saying, Lauren. But yeah, I think that one of the keys for us is to just, whatever we're doing, just keep going inside.
Yeah.
And that what's inside, oh, I know, this is what I was thinking, was there's kind of like a potential volcano in you.
Yeah.
In you. And that, like, this upwelling that I had about, I forgive myself, that was a little volcanic eruption for me, coming out deep inside of me. And one of the aspects of the choice point that we're in, which we've already talked about, but I'm just going to say super clear, is we are having these things coming out. These eruptions are coming out, right? And the force of them has to do with how much we've suppressed that, right? How much force is holding it down and how much force has to come in to have it come up. So one of the ways you can ease your journey is by looking at what you've suppressed, looking at what you've demonized, or you've put, you haven't wanted to look at in yourself. Like, I didn't want to look at being a friggin' soldier in my soul's journey. It's like that's not something I wanted to look at, right? But I've been just incrementally over the last year really working with that energy, because and it's still kind of eruptive, but look at the things you haven't wanted to look at in yourself, or things like what Lauren was saying earlier about how we can make ourselves wrong or think something's wrong with us because something happened in our early lives, right? We take on responsibility for things that adults did that we then think we, brought in, or was our fault, or we think things are wrong with us. And just being able to bring all of that up, not because you need to go, it's not a psychological process in the sense of needing to go into the whole story and unpack that. I mean, sometimes that is the case with certain things, but that's not really the tenor of what's happening now. This is very energetic and spiritual and not so psychological. And so if you can stop thinking of it so psychologically, because we tend to do that, we have such a kind of psychologically focused society, but to realize, oh, what energy am I suppressing? How can I open that energy up? right? What have I rejected about myself? Right? How can I bring that rejected part more under my wing, right? And holding space for it to show up so it can heal in the light of your heart, because it will. It doesn't really need a whole lot more than that, than your love and your compassion and your acceptance. And the thing is when we don't do that, that's when we get the eruptions. That's when triggers come, right? And especially the ones that are life shaking. I had a friend's husband went through that recently, like last week. He had like a 4-day, one of those kind of breakdowns, emotional, like because of stuff he'd suppressed, he didn't want to look at. Whoosh, and he had a dark night of the soul for like 4 days. That's a lot. That's uncomfortable, right?
Mhm.
But it also showed him where he needs to heal.
Yeah.
But it's possible, and triggers always show us where we need to heal. So I'm just saying for you, my friends, like take a look at this. You can create your own breakthrough. You don't have to wait until it comes to you from the outside or comes to you in some way you don't understand. And you're like, whoa, what just hit me? You can create your own breakthrough by going inside and being with yourself and inviting your higher self to guide you to know what it is you're ready to meet and to release and to heal right now, and to allow that process to happen. Because like the way that I work with human design is very much in the body, right? It's not, I mean, of course I do. Lauren and I were talking about this. You need the information, right? We talk about the data and the information, but that's not the main event, right? When you stop at that level, you miss the kind of the whole point, which is its ability to liberate you from living inside of stories and beliefs that you inherited, and that you at some point willingly accepted and have been living in, right? To liberate you from that, right? That's what Uranus can do, is liberate you from that, so that the light of your essence can become brighter and brighter, and that can become more of your guide. So when you do get triggered, because you will, we're all getting triggered right now. I mean, like the amount of radiation that's coming from the sun, it's amazing. We're not all running around screaming in some way, right? And to be able to just, whenever that happens, take a breath, pause, like you said, root, right? Root down and be like, okay, what's really going on here right now, right? How do I respond to this? And do your best not to react, not to push and project and all of that. And if you do, go back later, make amends if you need to, resolve, repair, and also forgive yourself, because this is just part of what we're in right
And
now.
forgive your friends when they do that. And
Yes.
they're showing you something that's like from, that we really need to give each other
A break.
grace of the break. I do want to give one more example. I was at a group of women friends of mine met last night, and we had dinner together, and I was bringing all like the amazing vegetables from my garden. Everyone made something amazing. And at the end, we were like, well, maybe we should have a check-in. My friends weren't really in touch with the astrology. And I want to share this story because don't want you to think, oh my God, I need to remember what they said so that I can have this amazing breakthrough and I can work with this energy. And I just want you to know the energy's there. You're going to go to these places. And it's more like to stay out of your head and let the energy move. Just remember, bring your awareness into your heart and just see what happens. And you may cry, you may feel pain, but Big Mama, she's gotcha. And she's bigger than you. She loves you. And she loves all of us. And she's like tired that we're fighting. So there's some grace happening now around huge possibility for transformation. So it was the end of the night and we were kind of tired. Maybe we'd been together for 3 hours already, chatting and having fun. And that's also part of this time of year, is getting together with people you love and cooking for each other and nurturing each other. And anyway, each person started to share. And what I noticed, and my intention for the evening was to have fun and be with my friends, but I also had this greater question, which is, what is the solstice about besides all of the ideas that I know about, all the stuff that I have to share about it? And what I saw was that each woman, literally, when it was her turn to share, went into her heart, not knowing that that was what's going to happen. And something very painful got shared. And then it got held in this incredible love. It was as if we were in high ceremony after days and days and days of meditating and doing yoga and sharing. But it was just, And each woman, it was held in this ring of love, and this energy came through each of us, and then a deeper sense of self-compassion, self-love, and compassion for one another. And I remember when it was my turn, I was like, well, I'm really tired. I have a lot to do tomorrow. I don't think I'm going to feel anything, but let me just see. And I went into my heart, and the next thing I knew, I was crying. I was feeling literally physical places that were releasing. And I was like, whoa, this is spirit medicine. This is the medicine of spirit coming in, and I can't mess it up, even if I try.
I love that. What a relief, right?
Each person had this, and then it was just the energy kind of just went around our circle, opened us up, and then we all went home. So what I want to say is, you don't have to try and figure out this. This is what the solstice is about. And not only just the day, but the solstice is the birthday. So this energy is you're writing this energy through the whole summer, waves of this. And you don't have to figure this out.
Yeah. No, I love that, Lauren. So I think what I'd love to do, because that was such a beautiful environment that you created for us just now when you said that, and you brought us into your dinner party circle with your friends, is Lauren and I want to do just like a brief heart connection experience for you. So we've been talking. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to be just kind of bring us more into our hearts for a moment. I want to do a little breath practice with us and just kind of bring us into our hearts, feel a little bit of the energies that are being lit up in the G center, and then hand this over to Lauren. And she has a little piece that she wants to do with the original spark of our energy. And then we'll close out for today. Does that sound good, Lauren? Okay. So, all right. So I just want to invite all of you to just, if you're multitasking, please stop or come back to this later. You can watch the recording later. And if you're driving, please keep your eyes open. But otherwise, put your feet flat on the ground and just find yourself comfortable in your chair. You might want to just move a little bit around in your pelvis, because we tend to get our energy kind of pooled down in our butt when we've been sitting for a while. So it's like just moving that around and feeling the base of your spine. This is just the seat of the soul here in our pelvis and our creative center, and just allowing our eyes to close and bringing your awareness down into your pelvis in the way that you're just rotating yourself around and feeling your connection to the earth. Just feeling it through the little energy centers in the bottom of your feet, energy center in your perineum, the base of your spine, the bottom of your pelvis, and just having that relate to the earth. If you're one of those people who likes to send roots down, you can send roots down. And if you want to, you can keep rotating. I'm a natural mover, so I tend to just move a lot, but you do whatever feels right to you. You can come into a place of stillness, taking a couple of big breaths. And let's put our left hand over our heart and our right hand over our left hand. And just take a deep breath in. Let's count to 5. And hold for a moment. And gentle exhale, count of 5. Just letting go, draining down. And again, inhale. And pause, send your awareness right into the center of your chest. As you pause and exhale gently, let it go. Feel your chest just gently soften as you exhale. And again, breathing into your belly, into your heart, letting your whole torso expand, breathing in the breath of life and hold. Just gentle, tracing the outline of your body from the inside. And exhale, soften, release, letting go. Let's just do 2 more together. And on this in-breath, breathing energy into that G center, 6 planets lighting up the G center, lighting up your heart, and hold. inviting the planets to send you their blessing, their wisdom, their joy, their possibility. And gently exhaling as you're ready. And one more time, breathing right into your heart, allowing the sun in the center of your chest to expand. Just hold and blessing your own sun, the flame of your soul in the center of you. And gently exhaling. Good. And just pause for a moment and feel yourself here now in this moment. And Lauren, I hand it to you.
Feeling that radiant light, the light of the sun, effortlessly radiating through your body, just like the sun. And every cell of your body absorbing the light. Now take a moment to invite into your space imagery of a beautiful garden, a place of healing, a place of beauty, and feel the nature of this place, the energy of this place, wherever you are, encompassing you. And you see in the distance, coming towards you over the horizon, a beautiful feminine being. This is the Divine Mother. This is the energy of the solstice sun with Jupiter, so expansive. Any version of the Divine Mother, any name that you call her, she's walking towards you with this beautiful light radiating from her, and her light radiates and touches yours. And she looks into your eyes and she says, it's time for me to show you, to help you remember the spark of enthusiasm that you had for this life before you were born. You were so excited to bring your gifts, to bring your love, to sign up for this amazing assignment at the Great Turning. And I want to show you, she says, who you were before you were born. I want to breathe this spark of your essence, of your original nature before projections of culture, of family. And what she does is she touches your heart and your third eye, and she blows into you a symbol. And you breathe that symbol in, and you breathe it into your body, and you let it radiate through you. And then she says, watch this. And she shows you an image of you in the womb. And she emanates that into you as a little baby in your mommy's womb. And she blows that energy of that original spark, that enthusiasm, that joy for this incarnation, this joy and the gifts that you need now. And she, with her hands, waves them through time. And you see this wave of love and spark and joy and commitment and enthusiasm from the moment of your birth and all through your life, this wave coming back. And this is called soul remembering. And she's given you some of what you need, some of what's coming in now, some of the gifts, some of the qualities like courage and joy and passion and a bigger perspective that you need to step through the threshold into this time of dissolving, collapsing, and regenerating and birthing all at once. And she kisses you on the forehead and says, I'm here for you. I'm always here. I'm inside your heart. You can always call on me, though. I'll help you. I'll love you up. You're my little baby. And I just love you. And then she invites you to kind of have a body sense of the chair you're in, the room you're in, and coming back into an ordinary consciousness. And you can do this whenever you want. You can invite this into your dreams, and you can do some art. You can draw with this symbol and invite this energy in. And this is an embodiment of Neptune and Saturn conjunct with Jupiter and the Sun in Cancer squaring this. This is what this is. This is what this is, an aspect of it anyway. So there you go.
Melissa B. Thank you, Lauren. Yeah, really lovely. Really lovely. Yeah. All right, my friends. Thank you for being here today. Many blessings to you. Really take care of yourself. You know, Cancer is all about self-care and healing, caring for yourself, caring for each other. So really, you know, take advantage of that. I mean, we're going through a lot here on the planet right now, and you may be thinking that you need to do more and do more and do more, but just watch out for making doo-doo when doing that. So
that's a good one.
Yeah, I'm not so sure now is the time for a lot of doing, you know, really check in with yourself. I know that there's an urgent, it feels urgent to do something right now, but I think that this is a lot of calling into being and tuning in, observing, allowing, as we both said today, allowing the energy to flow through you, following the energy, getting out of your head, getting into your body, lying on the earth, swimming in the ocean, or, you know, getting in the river, whatever it is, and allowing this incredible life force energy that is so alive at the solstice to nourish you and heal you and care for you and be in those big loving arms of the Divine Mother, as Lauren just brought forth for us. And, you know, one of the things I did feel in that meditation this morning after my cry about forgiving myself was the sense that we made it through. We made it through. And it makes me want to cry just to say it, because it is a very emotional feeling. We made it through this birth canal, and we made it to the other side. And I think it's inexorable. I mean, we're going to make it through to the other side. And if you doubt it, just try to go into your heart and feel that. We don't really know how it's going to happen. We don't know all the pieces of it, but it's going to happen. So I hope that that brings you some comfort and some solace, and is hopefully inspiring as well. All right, my friends. Lauren, would you like to say a last word while we're closing? I'm wiping away my tears.
My last word would be, if there is something for you to do, Aries will tell you. It'll be we'll get this clarity of, oh, I need to do this. And it'll be aligned. And when it's aligned, this energy helps you to stand up and do the thing that's yours to do. What we're finding is, what is that soul spark?
Yeah.
What is that original intention for now and radiating for you? And this is going to unfold in the next over the summer, over the next year. It'll and when it's time for you, you will just know.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love that, because it's coming from intuition. It's coming from your heart. It's not because you figured it out or you strategized it or you planned it. It's an inner knowing that comes out, right? And I think that's a big part of the shift that we're being called into, is to stop trying to figure everything out and strategize everything all the time, and to allow the awareness and the knowing to come forth. And just to say, the knowing circuit that's where it comes through, and it's lit up right here. So, all right, my friends, we'll be back. I'll be back with another transit report, and I will put Lauren's contact information down in the description so you can find out more about her and find out more about her work if you want to. All right, my friends, many blessings. Much love. Bye for now.